Success of an entrepreneur.
We've raised the bar.
Learn firsthand from successful business owners and create your own path to success.
I'm going to show you how great I am.
It's time to hit the road to growth with team lead of the Enriquez Group, Realtor Vinny.
Hi, you Road to Growth listeners. Today I got Jack Hanks. This is the first, never had a claims adjuster on the podcast yet. And this is going to be something new, I think, for a lot of us right here. He is a CEO and president of VPA, Public Claims Adjusting. Thank you, Jack, for being here today.
Hey, we appreciate the invite. We're excited to talk, man. Go Padres, huh?
Hey,
Right?
huge Padre fan.
Yeah.
If you're listening to this, you might be listening to this after the season. Hopefully they did well. So Jack, what's your elevator pitch? If someone asks you, hey, Jack, what do you do? What does your company do? How would you describe it?
We are an advocate for policyholders during their insurance claim to make sure the claim is handled correctly and negotiated in good faith.
I mean, that's such a tough thing. I mean, you're dealing with people, I mean, probably a lot of people's low moments right there, and kind of helping them get the maximum money for they can start their life back up again.
Yeah, you know what? It's a very it's a very diverse job. We talk about this all the time. So basically, we're policy experts. We're psychiatrists because you're dealing with people who basically lost all their stuff. We're construction experts. We have to wear a million different hats during the course of a claim, and it's every day it changes, and we have a lot of fire claims we're doing, especially in California as well. And people, you come home and your house is gone. So that emotional loss really takes a toll on people. So you're constantly changing hats, and we had a big we do a lot of EOS meeting every couple of weeks in our business, and the last couple of times we've been really striving to be more empathetic with our clients. I think as an industry, we all kind of lose. It's our business, right? So we're used to the devastation and all these things. I'm trying to get our team to connect more emotionally with our clients, because can you imagine coming home tonight and all your stuff's gone? Like all your memorabilia, all your wedding photos, all your kids' stuff, it's just all gone. So, we can get them all the money in the world for that. But until we connect with them emotionally, because we're never going to be able to replace that stuff for them, we can get the money, but we got to be able more empathetic on all these things that happen, because it is traumatic, man. I'm not going to kid you. So,
I mean, for people in the low moments, they're thinking about what they lost, right? And then they look at kind of bringing someone like yourself and your team on, and they go, okay, well, what's the cost associated with it? I mean, in something like that, how would you walk someone through kind of a cost associated with it?
Well, so we take a percentage of every claim we get. Our typical fee is around 10% of what we collect from the insurance company. But unfortunately, insurance companies anymore are marketing organizations that want to bring premiums in. And when you have a claim to collect what's due to you, they want to limit what they pay you. So Our job is to get in the middle of all that and make sure it's not a problem. So, unfortunately, we routinely are seeing insurance companies paying 25-35% of what they should be paying, if anything at all. Yeah. We're doing a ton of stuff in New Orleans from Hurricane Ida. And I think the data right now is they're paying what we're seeing about 30-some% up front, and then having these insureds fight for the balance of their money. And that's where we come in. So, that's how we get paid. Every time we collect a nickel, we get paid a percentage of that. So it's pure contingency. So literally the good news is there's no risk for the insured. The only risk we have is making sure the claims are legitimate and valid and the right situation. So it is tough, though. I'm not going to kid you.
Yeah, I mean, no, definitely. And if someone's already going through the process for a claim, can they still bring you on board, or what's the last deadline they have?
Yeah, so everything, usually it's a 2-year statute on these claims, or 3 years for commercial. So we actually get claims from a year and a half that are a year and a half old, or almost 2 years old, or a year old. People, it's human nature. We all think, State Farm and Allstate and all these other guys are doing the right thing. We're watching the commercials, and logically in our minds, we think they're going to handle them properly and above board. And what happens is people go in there with the right attitude, thinking it's going to be okay, and then 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 months down the road, they have a portion of what they're owed. They're not living in their home yet, or their business is still upside down and not open. And we get hired a lot after the fact. Which is a lot more work for us, but at the same time, we're here to help. So, it's par for the course. So we get them day one, and we get them a year later. Sometimes it just depends.
Yeah. I mean, I see that all the time in the real estate with loan modifications, short sales, things like that. If you're going to work directly with the bank, they're not always on your side. That's how they make their money. So just like insurance companies.
100%.
Now, walk us through, Jack. Who was a young Jack? Was he interested in insurance claim? Was he interested in big ideas? Who was young Jack?
Ironically, I remember I took this. I graduated from Indiana University way a long time ago, and I remember taking my senior year. Well, the funny story was before that, my junior year, my counselor called me in, and they go, "Hey, man, you need to pick a major." And I'm like, "What do you mean? I'm having a really good time at school right now, going out every night. So I don't really want to graduate." But my dad made it very clear I had 4 years of his money available, and that was going to be it. So my junior year, I picked a major. I became a poli-sci major because I had the most credits in political science at IU. So I picked that major to make sure I graduated on time. And I remember taking a class my senior year about your next phase of your life and doing all these things. And I remember that it came up to be in the insurance world, and I was like, this doesn't make any sense to me. My dad was blue collar. I didn't even know what that was. So here we are, 30 some odd years later, I'm in that field. So it all kind of comes full circle. I guess we should all listen to our counselors in college more is kind of the moral of the story. So yeah, I moved to Arizona right out of college, and I went to work for a general contractor because that was my background. And then in a few years after that, I think my third year working for someone else, I think when I was 25, I started on my own as a general contractor restoration guy, doing fires and floods and hurricanes and stuff when I was 25. So for the last 30 some years, that's all I've really ever done is I worked myself 80% of the time. Took some jobs with corporations and tried to fit in their scheme, but I'm a much better owner than I am an employee, I think, so I think when you have that blood of being entrepreneurial, it's very difficult to, even though you want to be in that corporate world, it just doesn't fit a lot of us. So I'm a much better visionary out front person, dumping my stuff into my team's brains than I am sitting in corporately hourly meetings, with a suit and tie on all the time. That doesn't really fit my MO, but I think it's worked out, I think. So.
Well, let's rewind a little bit. You talked about that your background was in construction. So were you doing construction before you went to college, or doing it simultaneously, or?
Yeah. So every summer, I mean, my dad was a plumber, man. So every summer I literally dug ditches. I hauled pipe upstairs. I drilled huge, massive concrete holes for the pipe to go through. And I worked, 6 a.m. to 2:30 p.m. every day. And, making union hourly wages as a kid. I thought I was on top of the world. So yeah, I physically worked construction my whole life, and then fell into it afterwards. And then it just kind of became a thing. And then, after you're in it for so long, it becomes what you are. And then, what happened was we were doing tons of work for State Farm and Farmers and Liberty. We were vendors for those guys, and we would get called out and do the work. And the last 10 or 15 years of it got harder and harder and harder because they started controlling the cost. And of course they want to, put you underneath their thumb and tell you how to do the work. And that's when it got very difficult and harder and harder. And that's when I started thinking about maybe this isn't the right career anymore. And it was, it's tough. 1 million, one day you'd have $1 million in the bank, and then the next day you have to go spend the million to get the next million. So it was a constant cash flow battle and struggle. And I'll tell you, it was hard on my family and hard on my friends and hard on my employees. And I went through a lot of heartache and pain and making not great decisions. And you learn from that, though, right? Hopefully. It took me a while. I'm not going to kid you. I took a lot. When you're young and dumb, you think you can conquer the world, right? And you just keep doing the same mistakes. So finally, I got people around me now that really understand me as a person and a business person, and kind of what motivates me and what I love to do. And the stuff I'm not great at, I have people behind the scenes that thrive at the stuff I am not great at doing, but they're phenomenally great at it, that's why our organization is so strong within the first year. It kind of just, all the pieces fit. For the first time in my life, I have all the pieces kind of where I needed it, which is cool,
Well, again, let's jump back a little bit. So before you actually started VPA as a claims adjuster, and you left your own business, the correction business, were you basically a salary employee at that time, or were you
No, I
basically a
went.
contractor?
I went to work for a local company here in Scottsdale called Skipton Associates, which I've known that family for years. They've been around forever, and I took a job. I was a 1099
Okay.
commissioned claims adjuster. So basically, whatever I killed, I ate, and that's the way I've always done it. And I started from zero, and the next thing we were bringing in 400 to 500 claims a year, just by hustling, and I know how to hustle, and so yeah, I've always been, commission's a big thing, and I think I'm a big proponent of that. I mean, a lot of the guys here are on commission, and they eat what they kill, right? So it's a good foundation, and it brings the entrepreneurial spirit into that thing. So yeah, I've never had a salary position as a claims adjuster. So nor will I
Why?
ever.
I mean, going back to that younger Jack, I mean, he had his own company, construction company. He's having the ebbs and flows, having $1 million, and then basically spending the $1 million, kind of back and forth, and with all the stress on his shoulders. And instead of just working for a company, getting basically an hourly job, he switches over to a commission-based company. What was the mindset behind that?
I've always I've always been probably stupidly overly confident in my abilities, right? I always have the big picture in my head. I always know where I wanted to be and how I want to do it. And I'm not, I don't like the 9 to 5 thing. I don't like the regimented routine. I like to kind of, it's like a racehorse, right? I'm wired to run as fast and hard as I can, as I want to, when I want to, and why I want to. And if I have so it's a very fine line of my team does a great job at this. The more structure I have, the more I don't like it. Does that make any sense? But I got to have some structure to keep it. So Doug, my partner, I kid about. He's like he's like the bumpers on a bowling lane for me, right? He's the one that keeps those bumpers up, right? Because I'll just run. He's like, dude, yes, no, yes, no, yes, no, and I need that in my life, and it's worked out great. I've never had that before. So that's the ironic part of all this. But yeah, so salary to me and being part of a large corporation salary thing, this has never got my juices flowing. I'm a Gemini type A only child, right? So I get very bored very quickly, and I get very frustrated when I can't get where I need to go. So it's never really fit my MO, man. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, for sure. Do you think younger you, do you think there was ever a moment where that crossed your mind, where maybe that the light at the end of the tunnel of saying that bigger picture, I'm going to make it, I'm going to do it, would have got squashed or getting close to kind of squashed?
Oh, dude, there's been times, right? You go home and your power's getting turned off, right? When you're young and dumb and you didn't pay the electric bill and you have $86 in the bank to buy food. And oh yeah, because you're looking at, and then your wife gets pregnant and you have 2 kids coming and all these things. And yeah, 100, dude, it literally had crossed my mind a million times. I never could fully invest in it because I just knew in my heart I always had this, I don't call it a dream, but this drive and passion to be what I want to be. And once again, there are a lot of great corporate jobs, and a lot of my buddies have them. They're great, and they're great people, and they excel. It's never been in my DNA. But I can assure you, there's been a lot of 2 o'clock in the morning sitting on the back patio, like, dear God, what the hell am I going to do tomorrow? Times in my life, my career, and thankfully I have come out okay every time on that. There's been a lot of heartache and a lot of pain and a lot of mistakes over and over and over again. And yeah, but the weird part to that, man, is I don't regret any of those, because I wouldn't be in the position I am now with the team I have now if that stuff didn't happen, because it took that ball batting over my head several times to get there, And I think a lot of people quit maybe too early, or some people quit too late, right? There's a weird thing there, right?
what resets you? What, like, I mean, some people, they think about all the accomplishments they've done. Some people go to affirmations. I mean, some people just, just say it's another day. I mean, what resets you in those low moments?
You know what it is? It's just I've always had I think I've never not got out of bed and went to work the next day. Even like on the worst day of I can remember days like, man, it's just I'm getting my ass kicked in, man. I'm getting my head kicked in. I know it's gonna be a horrible day, but I never not got out of bed, showered, and then went in there and did everything I could, knowing that I'm probably gonna fail that day, right? And that happens a lot. And dude, we have bad days here, right? We get claims that we do great on, and we still don't win. But I've never not had that desire to get up and do it again, and I'll keep taking punches to the face because I know that eventually the right thing's going to happen, and it did. So, not succeeding oddly it's never been a thing. I've never had that. I've never been scared enough not to quit, or I've never been scared enough to quit, I guess is the thing. I've been damn close. I'm not going to kid you. I wanted to, but I never did. So
now you're in claims adjusting, you're commission based. Is there, and you left the company to kind of start your own thing. Is there anything looking back that company could have done to kept you there?
Probably. Honestly, probably not. I mean, they're phenomenal people. We still get along now. We talk all the time. They're good people. It's a family business. I was just not part of their family, and they need to keep that in house, which I respect, and that's why I would do the same thing. So I was making unbelievable money there. I had all the freedom. I had company vehicle, whatever I wanted to do, no problem. American Express car, whatever I wanted to do, never question, never ask. But it got to the point after 5 years that I had this little thing in my gut, like, man, I got to do something more. I got to do something more. And it wasn't about the money or you know what I mean? It was about me being the man at my own place, again, doing it. And until that happened, I was never going to be settled in and, call it blind stupidity or whatever. But, is this, once again, I have nothing but great respect for where I came from, and they treated me very well. And to this day, like, I can call them and ask questions or talk and have lunch, and there's no issues there. So it was just time. And I think it was time for them as well, because I am a big personality, and I do want to do things my own way. And I'm sure that caused some heartache. Like, I'm sure they were shaking their heads some days, like, dear God, we're going to put up with this guy again. Right. So
do you, talking about being the man, are there things that, and I know you were the man before in the construction industry, is there anything that you maybe weren't aware of or kind of blindsided you by becoming the man again in the claims adjusting industry?
What's been odd, since we won that award, we won PA of the Year award a few months ago. And I had this new sense of we really want to do better for the industry. So it wasn't blindside. It was kind of an awakening or an epiphany I had. I remember I was literally getting coffee over here on the way in a couple months ago. And I bought this coffee, and I'm sitting there going, you know what? This industry is so young and so diverse. We need to be better. And I had this sense of, hey man, my team and my company and myself included need to do a better job of leading the whole community of adjusters and the whole community of insurance restoration. There's just a lack of unity and a lack of education and a lack of all these things. I really felt a responsibility to step in and be more of a role model and more of a person of just go to and answer questions and be there for everybody all we can. Even if we're not getting claims, help those other adjusters, help those other people involved, just to bring, what's that saying? Rising tides raises all ships. That really struck a chord with me the last couple of months. And call it maturity and call it getting old or whatever, or I don't know, but it's really been a thing that I believe in fully. And I really want to make this public adjusting world a better place when I leave it. And that's the first, and I can honestly say for the first time in my life and my career, I've never felt that way about anything. I was really in it just to be in it and to be on that hamster wheel. And it's not about the hamster wheel anymore, which is really, really cool. And, I thank my team for that, to kind of keep me grounded and keeping my head straight. But I really feel a sense of huge obligation to our whole thing of claims is to be better for all of us. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, where do you see most of the lowlights in the industry, or where are the things that could be better at in the future?
So nobody knows the hardest thing about what we do is nobody knows what we are until you need us, and then we have to. Our biggest obstacle is explaining to people what we do and why we're here and why we do it. There's a lot of I want to say a lot of used car salesman-ish guys in our world, and they're in it for the bling and the flash, and because it's a great way to make a living. I'm not going to kid you. You do very well. But at the same time, you got to have those core values. And I think a lot of the core values in our industry aren't there. Do the right thing. Do the right thing for the insured, even though it's not the right thing for the business. Always put the insured first. Make them the priority. And I think a lot of the industry is not there yet. We're getting there. It's not about writing an estimate and turning it in, and that's it for a claim. There's a lot of gamesmanship and chess and just thinking through a claim thoroughly to get the result that your insured needs. And I think our industry lacks in that quite a bit. I like to see it become more professional. I like to see us be more unified and more fighting on the same team more. It's getting a lot better than it has. I said last couple of years, it's getting 50 times better than it was, but we still have miles and miles and miles to go with that. I mean, I'm actually very proud of the fact that a lot of our competitors, number one, I consider friends because we communicate and talk all the time, and we're not here beating our heads against the wall anymore, trying to outdo each other. We're trying to help each other now. So it's getting there, but it's going to be a slow road. And I think 10, 15 years from now, it's going to be much better than it is today. I hope anyway.
If someone's in the situation and they need someone, hopefully they'll call you, and VPA, their information is below. And if they have someone that they're thinking about using, what are some good questions to ask that claims adjuster?
I think background is a big deal. I mean, once again, like I just hit on, writing an estimate is only part of the deal. You want to be able to understand the policy, number one, because your policy on your home and mine are completely different. So you want to have somebody that understands policy. You want to have somebody that we talked about has a lot of empathy for what you're going through. And the biggest thing is when the phone rings, answer it and communicate with your clients, because we all get frustrated at 5 o'clock. We don't want to talk to them anymore, but you got to suck it up sometimes and do that. So you want to be able to have someone available to understand what you're looking for and your needs and your questions. Because like I said, we do this every day. We're running, I think, over 500 claims through my office right now. So we don't, but Mrs. Smith in Granbury, Texas still wants that answer about her hail claim. She doesn't care about the other 400 people. She cares about her stuff. So somebody's going to be communicative and give you the attention you deserve, and also be fair. And, our job is when we get to that number that we think is fair, we got to be honest with that client. Say, hey, look, here's where we're at. I think we have this is where we need to be. Let's get this thing settled. So honesty and a lot of integrity and morality is a big thing. Those are the big things to look for somebody, right? In any business.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, finding, at least asking the question. If you're at least asking the question, you're gonna be in this better spot than just going with the first person you find.
There's PAs that are there's different mentalities, right? There's different, like in real estate, the same way. You gotta find that personal connection with someone you trust, because you're gonna be, some of these claims, man, they take a year. So you're going to be with this person for a year of their lives. So you damn better well respect and trust and like them, because you're going to have tough conversations. And
they can go longer than that. I mean, I have family members in Northern California where the fires are happened a couple years back, and people are still dealing with the insurance company getting knocked around. So yeah, I mean, that's for the most part in the real estate field, we're talking about maybe a couple months of those relationships, but you guys a couple years. So yeah, it's huge. Yeah,
it's tough, man. You got to, once again, you got to be able to have those tough conversations. And we've had some doozies in here. I'm not going to kid you. It pulls at your heartstrings. You really got to be ready for that.
Well, I mean, talking about a couple years down the road, I mean, where do you see your business, yourself going in the next 5 years?
It's changed since we started, right? So this year when we started talking about this upcoming year, my only goal for our company was to be the most well-respected public adjusting firm in the country. And I know that sounds kind of broad, but at the end of the day, if you're respected by your peers, by the insurance companies, by your employees, by your contractors, that's really what it's all about. So that's what we're striving for, just to be the most respected PA firm in the country. It's not about numbers or volume or profitability, because I think if you had that respect factor, those other things will fall into place. And number two, and we actually started this thing to think about selling it down the road in 5, 6, 7 years. But that's kind of changed. My son and his buddy, who just graduated from U of A, kind of came in and kind of gave me a new spark of life. We're kind of thinking about maybe we don't want to sell this thing in 5 to 6 years. Maybe we want to build it up and then turn over to them and let them run it as long as they can. I'll just take the residual income for the next couple of years when I retire. So we're thinking about, we've become kind of a training ground for younger kids in the industry, and it's really seemed to fit because they have no egos, and they have they just want to learn and do great things, which has kind of re-energized the company and kind of got us thinking about the next phase of this thing. So I think we're going to be set for the next 10, 15, 20 years here, which is kind of a cool thing, because I won't be around forever. But when you have people behind the scenes that are learning and want to do great things as well, and they're young, and these kids are 23 years old, man, they have nothing but the world in front of them. And I can only imagine what this thing's going to look like in 15, 20 years when they're running. It's going to be absolutely ridiculous, I hope. So.
Well, we'll talk about the next phase, next generation. I mean, how is it working with your son? What have you learned in kind of separating, I guess, father son compared to boss employee?
So I did not want to hire him. I love my son more than anything in the world. I love his buddy Jude. These kids have been best friends since they were, 10 years old. And I was like, there's no, because I was always afraid about that entitlement thing, right? I don't want to have him looked at as, oh, you're Jack's kid. You're going to have, easy way in. And so when I sat him down, I said, Trev, if we're going to do this, man, it's going to be the hardest. You're going to have to work 10 times harder, be 10 times more accountable, had 10 times more BS thrown your way, and earn every bit of it, because I don't want anybody ever look at you as the boss's kid. I want you to roll your sleeves up and get your head kicked in more than anyone else, because you got to, you know what I mean? I don't want to have that. I hate entitlement, and I hate people who think they're owed stuff, and that really bothered me. So I tell you what, when the Hurricane Ida thing kicked off, these two kids lived in trailers and in buildings with very little. I mean, they sucked it up, and they did great, amazing things. And we basically changed our business model because of them. They're so easy adaptable to the technology and what we're doing. They've taken these things that took us years to learn, and within 3 days, they got this technology stuff down to a science. You saw me here setting up my podcast stuff, right? I have no idea. They're pressing all these buttons. That's just a small detail, but man, they're able to pick up our documentations, how we're doing things, and able to run with it. So it's changed our business model substantially, and it's changed our long-term outlook of what we're going to do here, because now there is a second generation. I didn't think Trev and those kids would want anything to do with this, because it's not an easy thing we do. It's hard, but at the end of the day, it is a cool job. It's fun. We get to travel, see cool things. I mean, these two kids lived in New Orleans for 5 months on Canal Street and got to see all the cool stuff there, as well as all the hurricane stuff. So they saw the battle and the war right up front on this, which I think really helped get them like their eyes wide open, like, oh my God, this is a real thing we're doing here. And we have people's lives in our hands where it's so real. It became real for them so fast, because their second month, they were literally in the middle of a hurricane the day after. Like it's with no water, no electricity. You know what I mean? They had to figure this stuff out, and it was really cool to see that. And we're changing our business model to bring more of those newer kids in the business with no experience, kind of teach them what we're all about and the core values we have and how we're going to do things. So it's really kind of launched our VPA thing. It's been crazy. I'm not going to kid you. However, I do need to bite my tongue. I'm still his dad at the end of the day. So I do want to kill him more than I praise him, which I need to work on as a parent. Right. But they're doing great. They're both smart. They're diligent. And the biggest thing is they want to learn, and they really give a damn. And when you give a damn about anything, I think that really is what sets stuff apart. It's not a job for them. It's literally a career. and they're just in. They sold out, and whatever they need to do, they're doing, and it's crazy stuff. So yeah, it's been I do need to do better job of being. I do see myself. I cross the line more than I probably should with him as far as being a parent at work, and I'm trying to kind of step away from that. But at the same time, he's learning to go to different people in the company for stuff, and so it's been great. He's just a good kid, and I'm very proud of him. So, and my daughter graduates from U of A in May, so we'll see where she ends. She's supposed to go to law school, so we'll see where she ends up in a few years as well. So.
Well, thank you, Jack, for being here. Thank you for all the insight. I mean, I'll finish off with this last question. Is there any advice you would give to your younger self, that person that just got out of college, to get to where you are now a little bit quicker?
Man, that's a loaded question. Yeah, you know what it is? I think number one is don't be afraid to make really hard decisions. I think that's where I kind of always skirted when something was difficult. I kind of like, oh man. But the hard decision I've learned is usually the right decision, right? So don't be afraid when you know it's going to hurt, but it's the right thing to do it anyway, and don't hesitate, and don't second guess yourself. And honestly, it's okay to make mistakes, because you can always fix that, right? There's nothing in the world when you make a mistake you can't, number one, apologize for, and number two, fix. There's nothing that's that substantial you can't take care of. So if I could give myself that advice, I think that would be it, and that'd be a slam dunk right there. So,
well, again, thank you, Jack. If people, have an issue that popped up, what's the best way of them reaching out to you?
You know what? I take calls on my cell phone. That's the best way. It's 480-766-6565. And my email is Jack, JACK, @VPA.claims. Send an email over. We'll take a look at those stuff and give them some great advice. So,
you know what? If you're listening right now, you might not need VPA right now. Yet something I always tell people that are looking for realtors, you want to make sure at a weak moment, you don't pick a weak agent, just like you don't pick a weak claim adjuster at a weak moment. Right. So find who you have in your Rolodex, so when that time does come about, you're going to be better served.
100%. That's great.
Thank you guys for listening. Please subscribe, please share, and go find Jack and VPA. Bye, everyone.
Thank you, man. Have a great day.
You too.
Appreciate it.